Hi, my name is Joe Moriarty. Welcome to another episode of the Training-Led Growth Podcast. I have a great guest today, one of the best sales leaders that I've come across in 20 years of selling technology. Joined with me today is Jordan Christopher. Thanks, Jordan.
Joe, I appreciate that introduction. That's very kind of you and absolutely great to be here.
So Jordan runs sales for a really innovative company that's actually pretty topical right now and what's going on in the world. The company's name is Glia. Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit about Glia and what you're doing now, and then we'll go a little bit into your past.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. We are a digital engagement platform servicing the financial services industry. So if you think of banks, credit unions, and insurance companies, consumers more and more are moving obviously from in-person and in-branch to online. They want to find information online. They want to apply for loans and new member applications online. They want to get approved online. We offer a platform that sits on top of digital websites, mobile apps, or portals, and allows pure communication optionality, digital communication optionality. So meet the member or customer where they want, allow them to engage how they want, whether it's chat, voice, video, chatbot, any channel of choice. And then during that online engagement, allow them to seamlessly switch channels. So if they start out on chat with a simple question, allow them to seamlessly upgrade to voice. They want to personalize it, allow them to upgrade to video, et cetera. So that's what we offer. It's digital communication collaboration.
It sounds like right about now, it's probably pretty important too, considering I don't think anybody's really going to the bank, with the COVID-19 and things that are going on. Just out of curiosity, have you guys seen some more demand and people looking so you can engage digital?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be busy. I hate to think a pandemic had to happen to really cause tremendous urgency. Here, we have had an outpouring of requests for help as employees have been suddenly forced to work from home when they were used to using on-prem phone systems and contact center systems, and now suddenly overnight to still have to serve that same customer or member population, but do that from their own homes. We have had a tremendous outpouring of requests for our help, and we've been happy to help. The one thing we've sort of been missing from our amazing platform and our sales process, sales strategy is really that urgency where customers need to use digital communication and collaboration now. And I guess, unfortunately, that is happening right now. We also think that this is going to be the new normal where customers, accounts, organizations don't want to ever get caught in a situation again where they're forced to work remotely and don't have the tools to be able to do that. So,
I totally agree. I think it's interesting. I was talking to another guy by the name of Chris Hurd, who's got a company that is called First Base, and all they do is set people up with work from home environments. So literally like the communications, the desk, the chair, there's just everything you need. And he said they've probably advanced 10 years in the last 10 days in terms of like people using, basically saying we have to do virtual work. So I agree. I think it's going to be it'll be a different world that we go back to, but I think you guys are in a great position. And, of course you don't want to take advantage of a pandemic, but look, it's a market condition. I'm happy for you guys. I mean, if you're providing those digital solutions so people can just communicate from wherever they are, sounds incredible.
It's honestly great to feel that we're legitimately helping organizations and people that have a huge crisis on their hands right now that they need to deal with so they can still serve their customers. So we're proud to be in the space we are, and I'm grateful for our founders focusing on and staying focused on the space that we're serving.
Awesome. So take me back a little bit. So you run sales for an emerging, really exciting technology company. Where'd you start? How'd you get started in sales? How'd you get started in technology? Give us a little bit of background.
Wow, we're going way back here. My first sales job, not unlike a bunch of sales folks, started out in the copier world.
Nice.
In the
Nice.
as some refer to the digital reproduction space. And yeah, that's really where I sowed my oats in sales. It was literally going door to door and finding out whose systems were up for renewal, and going in and providing. At the time, they were analog, and while I was doing that, they transitioned to digital print and copy solutions in San Francisco.
And then what? So that's amazing. By the way, my first sales job as well was selling door to door, which I think is a kind of a lost art these days. We're dating ourselves clearly, but I did this. I mean, I sold coupon books door to door. I'd have to get somebody to buy 2-for-1 oil changes or 2-for-1 appetizers at the local restaurant. And you learn a lot of hard lessons that way. But I think it's really interesting. It's a good way to get started. I don't think anybody does it anymore, but I think it's a good way to get started. So so
people aren't literally getting their doors closed on their faces anymore. You and I both got to experience a little bit of that. Then it was the phone slamming, but nobody does that now either. They'll break their phones.
It was when you say a little bit, I think what you meant to say is you get a lot of doors slammed in your face. That's where you start to figure it out. That's where I came up with the whole one of my sales team's mantras, which is you can only control 2 things. You can control your attitude and you can control your effort. That's it. Everything else, you could get doors slammed in your face, and
move on to the next one. Yeah,
move on to the next one. That's the way it goes. That's so funny. So after doing the physical copier stuff, how'd you get into software? Where was the first transition? And let's talk about that.
I had an opportunity to move to another organization in San Francisco that was a blend of software and hardware, managing an entire print infrastructure for large companies. That's sort of where I moved into the software space. And then from there, got an opportunity to move into pure enterprise software with a business intelligence company called MicroStrategy. Oh, yeah. And at that point, I was in pure enterprise software sales, sold for a while, and then really wanted to move into leading others and helping to build organizations with all I had learned selling directly.
So you started as an enterprise account executive, and then when did you make your way into leading teams and managing, and how'd you do that?
Yeah, I had a recruiter reach out to me after I had been at MicroStrategy for 6 years, did very, very well there as a sales rep. And I was just starting to think about my long-term future and really did see myself as a manager, and a recruiter who I'd known for a long time got the sense that I was at least considering a move. And he said, I think I have a great opportunity for you. A couple really smart guys had sold their last company to HP, and they had spent 5 or 6 years building a new technology to support virtual hypervisors when that was all just coming to market. And it was a system that was agnostic. So you could have VMware, you could have Red Hat, you could have Microsoft hypervisors, and it was one system to help manage all of them. So he wanted someone to run financial services vertical for him, which I'd been doing a lot of at MicroStrategy. Got the opportunity to go in there and do that for them. And that was a quick exit, actually, after about 11 months of doing that. Red Hat, who we'd struck a partnership with, came in and bought us for a very, very rich multiple. And the founders jumped at the opportunity to do that.
Awesome. I love it. So as you know, we call this the Training-Led Growth podcast. So in your context, I want to talk about 2 things regarding kind of training in general. So talk as a rep that then moved into becoming a manager that now kind of runs entire sales organizations. What did you feel as a rep? Like, what did you like? Did you like training? Did you like to get coached? What did you take from a rep that you've carried into now running sales teams about growing your team? How does it work? What do you just talk to me about the training process that you try to take people through now.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a rep, there was always a boot camp or an onboarding, which was always useful, for the first several weeks or a month or so, when you started in a new role. But candidly, from there on out, it was very much figure out on my own, what to do and how to do it, to look around me and see who was successful and try to reach out to those folks and learn on my own. I never really felt, honestly, throughout my entire sales career as an individual contributor, that there was training and development that was structured and organized and high value, built by sales teams for sales teams kind of thing. So when I did move into leadership, one of the things I really, really wanted to focus on was empowering my sales team. I think a lot of sales leaders look at the numbers that need to be hit, and they look at whether or not a rep is hitting that. And that's kind of where the thought process starts and finishes. A rep is either hitting numbers and is successful, or they aren't and they're not. I, as a sales leader, I first look inward to myself and say, am I giving the team the tools and the development that they need to be able to hit the numbers? And if I'm not doing that, and if the reps aren't hitting, I've got to find a way myself to provide the reps with the tools to be able to do that. So I would say my experience as an individual contributor has really led me as a leader to really look inward and make sure that we are developing the training and the content and the materials, the messaging, all of those things to really give the reps the tools they need to be successful, so that then the hitting the numbers becomes the result versus the activity.
I love it. I mean, I felt the same as you did, working my way through from sales to then managing and then to, running teams to where I am now. I felt the same thing. It was always just, all right, here's 3 days of intense training, of which I remembered probably 20% if I was lucky. And then you go out and you just hustle and you try to work as hard as you can. But so today with your team, do you try to engage in some active coaching? Is that a big component of what you're trying to do now?
Yeah, we do. There is a culture that I have here at Glia, and that I also had in my last leadership role at SciSense, where the training and the development never stops. I and my sales managers are constantly looking across the entire team, and then also at the individual level for things that we see are missing from our team. What is the team missing as a whole? Is there a piece of messaging that we're offering that's confusing? Is our pricing model confusing and it's sort of impacting the entire team? And there are also always things where individual reps are doing things differently than the rest of the team, and you're not getting the results you want. So there's individual training and development, and there's team training and development that we are constantly looking to deliver.
That was a little bit of a loaded question I gave you there, because reps, if you survey reps around the world, they'll say the number one thing they're lacking is coaching. All reps will say that. And because it's the same thing that you just said earlier, everyone's been conditioned to manage to the number, to manage to the pipe, so I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I think that if you're doing that, I think number one, your reps are probably a lot more successful. And I think with Glia they are, but also that's what reps want. I mean, that's what they're saying. It's like individual contributors are saying, like, give me coaching, help me understand how I can improve. And that's amazing. So it sounds like you guys are doing a good job with that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like unless you're giving your reps, everything you can and everything they need in terms of meeting goals, it's hard to demand a lot from them. And if you are doing the training, the development, the coaching, providing all of the content, you can demand a lot more from your reps. And I can tell you, I'm a demanding sales leader. I really expect my team to function as the CEOs of their individual businesses. I expect them to be prepared. I expect them to be on point. I expect them to live, eat, and breathe their businesses. The only way I can personally expect that level of performance from the team is if I'm providing them with the tools they need to execute. So it comes with a huge responsibility.
Sounds super super laid back as an organization. I love it.
We do have a lot of fun. We do have a lot of fun along the way.
Of course. No, but it sounds like a great accountability. Sounds like great leadership. So I want to pivot a little bit now from, so as with training-led growth, you grow your reps, you enable your reps, you empower your reps to be able to sell, to run their business like a CEO, to do those things. They close the deal. You have a new customer now. We believe, Raven 360, we very much now believe that the customer success cycle is super important, because we want to get, once your rep has sold in this product, has sold in this solution, you want to make sure your customer starts using it, right? They want to make sure they get the value they expect, because look, we all sell annual subscriptions now, right? We all sell, and if they don't use it, that's a risk. So how do you guys do that today? Tell me about, do you get the customers engaged? How does it work for you guys as a company?
Yeah, you've got to avoid that leaky bucket syndrome where, you're bringing a dollar in and losing one down at the bottom of the bucket. So adoption is the only way to do that, right? To drive customer success and drive adoption. And here at Glia, we are super fortunate to have a really strong leader on the customer success side of the business who sales works very closely with. I work very closely with Brian, and his team has just been phenomenal in terms of really driving customer success through understanding what are the challenges our customers looking to solve with our problem, with our platform, documenting that, and then tracking those throughout the partnership that we have with the customers. Today, that's a pretty manual process, to be honest. It really is a lot of individually working one-on-one with our customers, hearing them out, and then ensuring that they're, like I said, meeting those objectives and really getting value out of the software. As we continue to scale, we're adding more and more in terms of how we're training our customers, how our customers are ingesting information and content themselves, and how they're actually able to drive more self-service around adoption. Candidly, that's a big focus of our organization right now. Everyone's heard of developing sales playbooks, which we've done a really good job streamlining our sales process, making that very repeatable. We're now sort of pivoting, and a lot of focus is going towards driving automation and adoption of the success side of the business.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that's what we're passionate about. That's kind of what we really do, is we enable the reps to get coached and sell, but then also kind of what we think is equally, if not more important, is then making sure your customers are successful, your customers are empowered. And we think if you give them a great experience learning, a great experience keeping them updated on new features and new functions. One of the biggest issues we find is people develop and engineer and come out with new stuff. Customers don't even know about it sometimes, because everybody's moving fast. Everyone's trying to engineer and bring out new functionality as quick as they can for value. Sometimes if they don't know about it, if they're not using it, the worst thing that happens is they go look somewhere else. They start to look around for something that you already do. It's like I talk to so many executives that pull their hair out because they're like, we do this. Why is it that my customers aren't using it? So we're super passionate about that. And then what we have found is that if you get somebody using the product really, really well, when it comes time for renewal, or when it comes time when you guys launch a new capability or a new module or whatever, function, whatever it is you come out with, they're much more likely to engage. They're much more likely to buy from your reps. So I actually have a question about that, just on your sales org. Do your reps that close deals maintain the relationship with their customer, or is it truly kind of a handoff to customer success at that point?
So I've worked with both models. At SciSense, it was very much a handoff. At Glia, about 40% of our revenue actually comes from expanding our existing accounts. So we're nice. Huge fans of crawl, walk, run with our customers. Use the platform, get some value out of it, and then from there, we'll help you get more and more value out of it. So there is a handoff to customer success. Customer success is acutely focused on understanding their objectives and ensuring successful implementation, testing, and deployment. Once that customer is up and running, sales works very, very closely with customer success to identify other opportunities where our customers can get value out of the platform. And there's a little bit of handoff back and forth during that between sales and customer success. It's a really, really healthy collaborative model, but we try to make it very clear to the customer that the customer success manager's role is truly responsible for their success. And as they want to do more with the platform, that's more of a sales function. We do think it's really important for the customer to understand who their point of contact is for different scenarios.
I think that's a really healthy way to do it. I've seen customer success teams kind of get comped or get incentivized on upsell. And I don't think that personally, I don't think that's the right dynamic. I think it can hurt the relationship. I like the way you guys are doing it in that, kind of keep those separate. Customer success truly has the best things in mind, right? For solving problems, bringing stuff to market for them that can help them. And in sale, and look, the sales job is to also bring value as well. But I just feel like that kind of delineation is a healthy way to do it. Do you think do you have a preference in your experience about what's past companies, how they've done it or how you're doing it now?
Well, I think it's all a factor of how much your model depends on expansion, right? At SciSense, we were much more of a land and move on to your next logo. We were selling more into the SMB space. So that initial sale was really kind of the beginning, middle, end of landing that customer. And then there was a really clear focus on ensuring that customer was getting value out of the platform. At Glia, it's quite different. We're selling into large enterprises that use our platform across many, many different use cases. So I think you need to align, those variables with your model and find what works best. I mean, it worked really well the way it did at SciSense, and it's working quite well with the pivots we've.
That's interesting. It's interesting the difference between SMB and enterprise, where close the logo, get them using it, move on, hunt the next deals, and enterprise more that land and expand relationship model. It's neat to hear how those have two worked in your experiences. So talk to me just a little bit about, because you and I, have known each other for a long time. We've also been selling probably technology about the same amount of time. A lot has changed the way that buyers search for solutions, try to engage. Tell me, what do you think has changed the most from when you started with the first technology to what you're seeing now? Talk to me about the buying process. How's that evolved?
Yeah. I'm thinking all the way back. So we have the wheel now, which is helpful. There are no more stone tablets. They're electronic now. No, I mean, I think the biggest difference is you touched on a bit of it. And by the way, I love what you guys are doing with digital content, making it as secure as you are and as accessible as you are. Everything we're doing with digital channel optionality, you guys are doing with content accessibility. Give consumers the ability to consume information content where and how they want. So, you guys are really doing a lot to enable what's needed in the marketplace. I think the biggest thing that's changed in our buyers' behaviors is their access to information. We are working with a more educated buyer than we ever have. We don't have to start at the basics with our buyers. They know 75%, 80% of what they need to know to make the decision. And it's really, really important as a sales professional to go in and do that discovery, understand where your buyer is in the education, in the buying process, and sort of pick up at that point, and then be able to sort of usher them through the rest of that buying process. Be much more of sort of a quarterback and an orchestrator of the sale versus really an educator. Our prospects are just doing so much more self-educating than they've ever done. Yeah,
I totally agree. And when you and I started, it was a lot of, working the phones and trying to, you had a problem or you had a solution that you were trying to make sure somebody knew about that was there. And now it's like, everyone's doing so much research, and there's so many G2 and Capterra and sites that people go to start researching alternatives. So it's changed so much. And we actually think that exposing more about your product and your platform as early as you can is a good thing, because they're going to probably find and have questions anyways. So we also think that's part of the training-led growth methodology, is to try to get people information about the product, even see it in action, start to use it a little bit. And it helps people make decisions. It just helps people say, like, yeah, this is going to work for me, or you know what? No, it's not going to work for me. But either way, that's, it's good to know.
I think the flip side of that is that your buyers also expect you to be far more educated, right? They expect you to know your competitors more than you may have needed to in the future. They expect you to understand their business and their objectives maybe more, because information is so accessible to all of us. So I think we're held to a higher level of accountability by our buyers as well.
Great point. Huge point. I totally agree with that. How do you guys do that? How do you share? How do you get your team to collaborate? How do you share information? How do you guys do that?
Well, we've got an amazing product marketing team that is just always asking us, what do you guys need? What do your customers or prospects need in terms of information? So we've got a team that's dedicated to churning out, white papers and blog posts and, lots of different information that enables our sales team. In terms of sharing it, we're using a lot of, our shared drive. We're a little bit rudimentary, but we have a shared drive that's nicely organized for our team to find content that's useful to share. We use messaging and Slack channels a lot internally, so we're pretty disciplined about how we assign Slack channels, and people know where to go for what level of collaboration. Particularly in this environment, every single person is distributed obviously across the team right now, so those channels have come in really, really handy. But even when we're not in crisis mode, we're starting to explore much more of a geographically dispersed field team, where I'm hiring folks in Texas and in California to serve our customer geos there. So being able to share content and get ideas from one another in a remote capacity, certainly super important right now, but even like I said, when we're not in crisis, is important.
It's great information. I thank you, Jordan, so much for just sharing some of your time with us. I know it's end of quarter, and I appreciate you jumping on and sharing some of this wisdom that you've gained over the last 20 plus years selling technology. So again, thanks so much. And just for all the listeners, again, I've been visiting here with Jordan Christopher, who's the Vice President of Sales, Worldwide Sales with Glia, Glia. So thank you so much, Jordan, for joining us, and I appreciate your time.
Joe, thank you. Appreciate it. Be well.